3-2 Meridian and
Meridian. If there's still active shooting, we'll take the Bearcat, head that way.
39.
Upper Sioux, it's going to be Locust Grove and U-Stick, and they just put out a shot flyer, just so you know, on the route.
This is the 1032 podcast, where we interview experts in firearms and training with law enforcement, military, and competitive shooting backgrounds.
Talk about
All right. We're ready.
All right, what's up, dude?
All right, the red light's going. That means we're recording, man.
We're live, dude.
It's good to have you here, Vishal.
Finally.
All right, I got a good friend of mine, Vishal, and I say good friend of mine because we worked together. We were on the same SWAT team together, and knowing his dad before that, his dad was one of my supervisors. He was my lieutenant when I was on the Metro Gang Unit, so he was a good man. And then to have you here, pretty awesome.
Full circle,
You've
dude.
done some pretty cool stuff in the short time you've been a cop. Heck, in the first few years, you were really getting into stuff. And so I used to look at you from afar and stuff. I was like, man, he handles himself really well, man. And one time I was pretty impressed, though, because I remember one time that we had a team training or something, and a couple of deputies were talking, kind of bad-mouthing somebody who wasn't there, and you knew the guy that they were bad-mouthing, and you stepped up and said, hey, I don't agree with that, and the guy's a good dude. And I was just like, wow, that's some good leadership right there. I'm like, he's going to be a good leader. And that was when you first got on the team, and I thought that was pretty awesome for you to stick up for somebody who was being bad-mouthed, by a couple other guys, and I was pretty impressed with that. And after that, I was just like, he's going to be a good dude. He's going to be leading this agency.
Well, if you remember, when I first got selected for the team, so I had to test twice. The first time I didn't make it, and then I just, by the grace of God, they held the second testing that year. I was still ready to go. Carl hit me up, our old TL, and he was like, hey, dude, put in again. So I put in, made the team, and we used to get assigned mentors back in the day. We still do now, but that was kind of the process back then. You get on a team, you get assigned a mentor, and this mentor is the one that kind of guides you. They lead you. Even basic stuff like, what equipment do I bring to training? Because I didn't even know that stuff. But I already knew who you were. I knew who you were because of my dad, your reputation at the department. Obviously, phenomenal shooter, tactician, good cop, kind of been there, done that. But one of the few guys that had been there, done that was still doing that, right? Like, you didn't just stop doing your job, and you were just pushing around a car, not doing anything. And, dude, I was like, Raul Garcia is going to be my mentor. I probably never told you this, but I was a little apprehensive and nervous because I was like, this dude's PT is still good. He still shoots. He's still very active.
And he's old.
I mean, old, but like, you're still beating guys on the team when you retired when it came to PT stuff. I remember that last PT test you did. You were throwing up some crazy numbers. And I was like looking at some of the younger guys, including myself, like, man, if we can't keep up with these old timers, the hell are we on the team for, But, dude, I was like nervous when you were I was excited, but I was nervous. Funny. Because there's a certain like reputation that dudes had on the team, and not everybody's reputation was the same. And so when I was assigned, as your mentee, I was like, dude, I got to like show up and try really hard. Not that I wouldn't do that, but I just felt like you're always kind of watching me. But it was pretty sick, dude, because you were definitely a mentor that I think held me accountable and held me to a standard, but you never made me feel like I was a new guy. You were like, hey, this is the expectation, this is the standard. But dude, even like small stuff you used to do, I don't know if you remember this, but like one of my first range days, like I was shooting well for like what we had to do at a patrol level, but it wasn't what we needed at the SWAT level. Mm-hmm. And instead of coming over there and just like berating me and making me do push-ups, you're like, hey dude, grip your gun this way. Focus on the target, not your sights. Move aggressively. Why are you drawing your gun so slow? Like, it was more of a coaching moment and a mentorship thing, like a mentor should be. Because I think when you get selected on the SWAT team, it's understood that you have a certain degree of like maturity and expertise at a base level. And so we're not really trying to like break you down and build you up, perhaps like you do in the academy. It's more of like a coaching thing. It's like, hey, you have this level of understanding, but let's get you to the level that we need you for the team. But I was just saying that because I was nervous at first. And then I was like, oh, this dude really cares. And you were a good instructor, so that helped a lot too. Like, you helped me understand some pretty fundamental concepts that definitely paid off years later. Yeah. So that was
good.
Cool, man.
I'm glad to hear that because I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you remember anymore, dude. You're all old and stuff. You're all grayed out. I can tell you anything. You don't even remember my name. But
it's all this gray hair and the beard and the goatee.
To be honest, I was surprised you guys even gave us the time of day, because guys like you and Carl were like so senior, like 20 plus years SWAT guys. You've been doing the job forever. You'd already been in your incidents, and like, you didn't have to give us the time of day. Remember, I was coming out of the Marine Corps too, where like a lot of my initial like senior enlisted guys were all combat vets. They didn't give us the time of day at all. They didn't even talk to us until we kind of earned our bones. So to come on a team like that, I think that was like the professionalism.
You were in the Marine Corps, correct?
Yeah. Reserves. I was in the reserves for 6 years, 2009 until 2015 with Charlie Company 4 tanks here in Boise when we still had tanks in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Did that for 6 years, and then got out. I was a sergeant in E5, left as a platoon sergeant, which was the most humbling job to this day that I've ever done. You know, I was charged with leading 16 dudes in my tank platoon. It varied between like 16 and 20 with the support personnel, but 16 core guys. And dude, that was the coolest job I ever had. And the reason why is because I was pretty young. I was like 21, 20 years old, just getting started at the sheriff's office. And the responsibility of like being in a leadership role where the entire platoon, like you're the guy, dude, it's kind of overwhelming, honestly, but that all my leadership to this day, my philosophies on leadership all come from the time that I was in the Marine Corps and the time that I was a platoon sergeant, because like those dudes relied on me for more than just like work stuff. They would call me with all their personal problems. Like I had guys call me at 2 a.m, tell me like, hey, I'm about to kill myself because my wife is cheating on me. Like that kind of stuff. That's like the stuff that dudes would call you with. And it's like, dude, you're more than just like a tank commander or a tank leader where you're like just telling guys how to do their tank job, right? Like, hey, this is how we do gunnery, or this is how we do this combat operation. Dude, it was way more than that. Guys would call you for like, I had guys that used me as a reference like on their resumes and stuff, you know, like young Marines, 17, 18 years old. And I was only 4 years older than these guys, you know, and some of these guys later on have told me like they looked at me as like a father figure. I'm like, dude, I was 2 years older than you. Yeah. It's just, dude, it was super humbling. I didn't know at the time the magnitude of what I was doing. I understand it now that I'm a little bit older, but dude, back then I was just doing a job.
Yeah.
But I loved it. Absolutely.
That's awesome, man. I mean, that kind of goes back to, you know, the incident I was talking about, you know, you showing maturity, showing leadership. Maybe you were younger, but you were showing some maturity and good leadership skills without even being, you know, there's no stripes on your shoulders at the time. And it's just like,
don't need them.
You know, like they say, you can be an informal leader and still lead and be a big influence on people.
I think we overcomplicate leadership nowadays, man, because there's all these classes and books and philosophies, and it's all good stuff. I think you got to consume as much information as possible to try to be the most well-rounded leader. But at the end of the day, dude, you just show up for the guys that need you when they need you the most. You know, and that's leadership is simple. Yeah. You show up for guys, you're there for them, talk to them, you show them you care.
Yeah, some guys think leadership's bossing people around, right?
Yeah.
And I remember somebody telling me once that leadership is, you know, you got to figure out what the guys underneath you need to become succcessful, right? So
100%. Yeah, and like ultimately, they're the ones doing the job. Because like when I stepped into the role of the platoon sergeant, that was the worst tank commander that I ever was, because I actually lost proficiency in the skill set because the guys were so good at doing their job. I didn't have to worry about it. I had to focus on like the overarching like mission set and capabilities and tasks that we had to accomplish. But the young Marines will do the job. They'll carry you. Those guys are the ones that make you look good. I never got any commendations in a leadership role because of my own efforts. It was always like, hey, Sergeant Sonny, you did a really good job. I'm like, well, I didn't do anything. These guys did a good job, but then, you know, they got to give you whatever. But yeah, I mean, they're the ones that put, you know, your leadership on a pedestal, but you have to invest in those guys. They care about that. And if you don't invest in them, then you shouldn't be a leader, in my opinion. Like,
yeah, well, you know, sometimes you get those leaders who it's all about them and they like to just tell people what to do.
100%.
Instead of trying to figure out what are the strengths of each individual in that team and use them for those strengths that they have, instead of putting them down for maybe things that they're not strong at. Find out what their strengths are and try to bring those out and try to hone those skills.
100%. And also, like, sometimes guys just chase that rank.
Yeah.
We had guys like that in the Marines, you know, because there was different ways to get promoted, but some guys were literally just trying to get promoted. Actually, in the Marine Corps, a lot of guys were trying to get promoted just so they didn't have to take as much crap, because, you know, the lower ranks, you got to deal with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's the wrong reason, right? And we know that. I think, like, at the end of the day, my fundamental philosophy has always been leadership is a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that's a good way to look at it.
It's a privilege. And you have to earn it every single day. Because as soon as you start treating leadership like you've arrived, I don't think you can be an effective leader. Like, if there's ever a point when you're in a leadership position where you can sit back and be like, I got this, we're good, I think you're ineffective as a leader. It's a privilege. You got to earn it every day. And your guys expect you to do that because you're going to make them earn it every single day too, right? Like, I held dudes to a standard, like simple, like if I set a PT standard, right? So we had a PT test called the PFT, physical fitness test, and the highest score you can get is a 300. So I wanted a 250 average for my platoon. I was like, we're going to get a 250. But like, if I can't get a 250 or above, I can't hold that standard. It's simple stuff like that. You got to show up every single day for these guys. And it doesn't matter if you're hurt, old, put on a little bit of weight, you better lose the weight. You know, like, it's simple stuff. And it's like little tiny things that build up every single day that show people you care. Mm-hmm. It's as simple as just calling guys, and instead of telling them to do something like, hey, dude, go do this maintenance or go do this job, just call them and say, how are you doing today, man?
Yeah.
Or, dude, this is going to sound super cheesy, But like recently, I've really gotten big into the gratitude stuff, telling somebody that they did a good job.
Yeah.
Like on our SWAT team, we have like 5 brand new guys. They're the best dudes we've ever selected. I'll never tell them this, so they hopefully never listen to this podcast. But I'm doing everything I can to just keep up with these guys.
Yeah.
Physically, marksmanship, decision making, they're studs. But like I could easily just be like, hey, do better, do better, do better. But now what I try to do is be like, hey, good job today. Like on that call out, I know you're new. I know you're brand new to the team, but you know, with the skill sets that you have currently and the tasks that you were given, you absolutely crushed it. And like, even for like the most experienced of guy, the guy with all the military background, you could just see it in their eyes, dude. It just makes them really want to be there, and it gives them buy-in. And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what you used to do with us. And I didn't expect it back then, but you told me several times as a new guy, like, I saw this picture with you where like I got my arm over your shoulder, you had it at your retirement party, where it's one of my first SWAT call-outs I ever had, and we got our night vision on. It's just you and me posing together, just a cool hero shot with me and my mentor. But on that call-out, the first thing you told me, and I screwed a lot of stuff up, trust me. Like, I screwed it all up on that one of the first call-outs. Carl yelled at me because I didn't listen to him like I usually do.
Carl yelled at somebody?
Carl, I know, weird, right? He sent me to the house to like take a piece of tech in there, and I just never came back out. But you told me I did a good job.
Yeah.
And you definitely told me the things that I could improve on. But you're like, hey, dude, these are the things that you did really, really well. And like, be happy about that. Like, you did a good job. And I'm not saying that, you know, we're in a softer society nowadays, but showing gratitude goes a long way. Even with your family. Like, just showing appreciation, dude. So, I don't know. That's kind of my take on it. Again, we overcomplicate it. You don't need a book to learn how to do that. You just show up for guys and tell them to do a good job.
Like, was it Havoc Holsters out of Meridian or Nampa? They sell T-shirts and stickers that say, just be a good dude. Like,
it's not hard.
I like that.
It's not hard. Yeah. I think where we've lost kind of our way when it comes to leadership is I shouldn't say everybody started doing this, but you see in government work in particular, and in the private sector as well, we've started promoting off of what we perceive to be good leadership or certain accolades, right? So they reach this certain like financial goal, let's promote them. Or they go to these classes, let's promote them. We really need to look at and ascertain like how are they doing with people? How are they engaging with people? Do people respect them even? And not everybody has to respect you as far as like I have people that I've led that I know don't like me, but am I competent and will I show up for them when we need to show up, right? And if the answer is yes, then I think that person probably is qualified. If the answer is no, then, you know.
Yeah, I remember, you know, when I first started law enforcement in the early 90s, seemed like every sergeant and above, everybody in leadership were all former guys who were in Vietnam.
Oh, yeah,
and
dude.
back then, you know, I mean, they really chewed you out for whatever. If you did something wrong, I mean, you got ass chewing for everything.
Yeah.
Right. But they always told me, you know, a lot of guys would say, "Oh, well, how am I doing? Am I doing good?" And I remember a lot of leaders back then saying, "If you're not being talked to, you must be doing an okay job. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
When we call you into the office, well, now you know you're not doing a good job. We shouldn't have to tell you every day. Right, and so that's just kind of the difference in generations. You know, different generations perceive things differently, or like to be told. I think newer generations they like pretty regularly be told, "Hey, you're doing a good job."
Yeah, and we still
I don't
down
think
on
there's
that.
anything wrong with that.
I agree. I think we look down on that just because it's different than the way that we grew up. But it's all the same stuff. If you have a stellar group of individuals, and honestly, dude, like these new guys. They're leaps and bounds beyond where.
Yeah, I've met some of those guys. Those guys seem like they're pretty squared away.
Dude, they're freaking savages. They're smart. They're more emotionally mature. They're intelligent. Like, and that's just that level. I'm not even talking like marksmanship skills or ability to like go through the testing process was phenomenal. Everything about that they do is great, right? And so
it's like their emotional intelligence.
That's the most important thing. Emotional maturity, you know, emotional intelligence, social intelligence. I think these are, you know, characteristics that matter more, right? Like having good character. You can teach a guy to shoot. You can teach a guy to handle scenarios. We can teach them all the SWAT tactics. They'll go to schools, you know, but I can't teach somebody just how to be a good dude, as Havoc Holster said, or I can't teach you social emotional intelligence. You got to kind of learn that on your own and pick that up on yourself. But if that's what they need to feel like they're doing a good job, then we should be able to satisfy that need, you know, because they're still doing a good job. Now, if they're inadequately performing, and then they want to be given a pat on the back, which does happen at sometimes. It's like, no, actually, you're not doing a great job, but here's how you can do a better job. You know, it's like pretty simple. But I'm telling you right now, man, these guys, I'm barely keeping up. Hopefully nobody listens to this from the team. I know they do. Cause
I've seen some of those guys shoot, and I've been pretty impressed. I've had a couple of those guys show up to matches, some of these USPSA matches, and I'm like, man, these guys are showing up and doing pretty dang good.
I'm at this point, and I'm still pretty young, but as I've gotten older, I'm now dry firing more than I ever have. I'm PT more than I ever have. And honestly, it has nothing to do with this like intrinsic desire to get better. It's because I have to keep up with these guys. Because like the first couple range days, dude, they're like out shooting me on everything. And
well, that was a lot of my motivation.
Yeah.
Towards the end of my career, trying to, like you're saying, it's like that was my goal. It's like, man, I want to retire, being in the top, top scores for PT and for shooting. And man, it was hard. I felt like I had to do a little extra.
And now I understand, because I used to make the old man jokes to all you guys back in the day. Yeah. Be like, you old guys can't even shoot that good. I talk so much crap, and now I'm like, oh man, I come full circle now. I can't even keep up with these guys.
It's amazing. You get to a certain age level, and then things start to hurt.
Dude, it's not even, I got to figure it out. But it's cool too, though, because that pressure, I needed it. I needed that pressure, because you get complacent a little bit, whether you want to believe it or not.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
It's hard not to, right? Like, I got to a point on the team where, I finally have kind of a place on the team. I got a specialty, been on for a little bit, and you get comfortable and you think you know what you're doing, and then guys come on the team that are like really pushing the standard and really raising the standard. You're like, yeah, we can be better. But it took that for me to I guess see that, and now I'm just trying to keep up with these dudes. So
how long have you been in law enforcement now?
This December was completion of my 15th year, so I'm starting my 16th year.
Okay. So did your dad, being that your dad was he retired from the sheriff's office as a lieutenant, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And did your dad have a big influence on you?
100%. But my dad didn't have an influence on me initially, like from the cop perspective. My dad had an influence on me because he was like my role model, both my mom and my dad. But like obviously as a son and the first one, like my dad and I were close, we still are. And so like I actually never wanted to be a cop necessarily. Like I wasn't growing up as a kid and was like, I'm going to be a cop one day.
And then you failed out of school or something and you said, well...
Oh, I'm Indian. I excelled in school. Academics were my thing, dude. That's all I do is math and engineering, but I wasn't good enough to be a doctor or lawyer, so I became a cop. But no, dude, it's just like, I think... So here's what I remember about my dad. He always spoke very highly of his job, and he always talked about how like cool it was to be able to like make a difference in people's lives. But the biggest thing that stood out is the people that he worked with. We commonly hear that, especially at the organization that we come from, is like, he's like, when he retired, he's like, I won't necessarily miss the job because he's like, I'm kind of done with it. I've done my time. But it's the people. Everybody says that. He would bring guys over all the time, like Carl. There's a bunch of dudes that he'd bring over. He'd always talk about you guys in such high regard and such high esteem. And then he had his like civilian friends, like some of the Eastern Indian community, and they were good people, but he never spoke about them the way that he did about his cop guys. So I think that just kind of like permeated, and I kind of absorbed that inadvertently or subconsciously when I was a kid. And so I was senior in high school. I was like, I'm going to join the Marine Corps because I did a semester at Boise State. Didn't love that. I didn't do the typical Indian route, like pre-med, become, an anesthesiologist. And then, I didn't do that route. But I think that I just absorbed his desire to serve the community and the people that he brought over. And then I respected those people that he brought over because I thought they were upstanding people. And specifically as a young man, those were like my influences. Yeah. Was my dad and his friends. So I valued my father as a dad first and foremost, never as a cop. Mm-hmm. But then when I was old enough to like figure out, okay, what career field do I want to go into? What do I want to start doing? I started to gravitate towards what my dad did because I was like, I think I do want to serve. I think I do want to give back to people in that capacity. And frankly, it's also just a fun job. Like I have yet to show up to work. I mean, there's definitely good days and bad days, but like I've always had great job satisfaction. Like I had purpose. Everybody needs purpose. And some people find it right away. Some people search for it and some people never find it. But like I found purpose pretty early on, and I think it's because my dad found purpose, honestly. So that's a very long story to explain how I started. But
kind of easy to find that, I think, in this job. I think a lot of the guys, that's why we do this job, right?
Yeah.
Because you find that purpose in the job, serving. Whether it's and that's where you see guys find that specialty within, right? Because there's the general public thinks, oh, a cop's a cop, but within the law enforcement career, you can find all these specialties, right? You can be a narcotics detective, you can be a gang unit detective, domestic violence detective, you can be a firearms instructor, SWAT, which was kind of what I like to do. Yeah. And so it just you can kind of find what your niche is and go with it and find a purpose in that.
And that's like special, right? And you're able to find that at a pretty young age because I started, it's like Marines obviously right at 18, November of 2009, but then like the law enforcement stuff, I think I got into it when I was 20 as a non-com, then went to the jail, then patrol, and obviously now doing what I do. But yeah, it's just like I found that purpose early on, and I just like knew what my direction was. That's pretty cool as a young guy, like in your early 20s. Now, I certainly took for granted the amount of responsibility and I think like what the job actually entailed because I was young.
Yeah.
You know, I understand it way more now, but I had purpose back then, and I had a career path that meant something to me. And then, like you said, you can find the things that you want to be good at. So, like having you guys as mentors, I was like, I want to be a SWAT guy. I want to be an instructor. And it's just cool because you can like really niche down and be like, I'm going to be just really good at this one thing. I'll do everything else that's asked of me, but I can focus. Like I love SWAT, and I don't talk about it a ton at work because, you know, sometimes people get weird about specialties and things like that. But if anybody asks me, they sit down, like SWAT is, that's my thing, dude. I love being on the team. I love the guys on the team. I love the professionalism. The best part about SWAT is everybody has the same mindset. Everybody wants to show up and be the best. Yeah. And it's not because they want to wear all the gear, they want to look cool, or they want to shoot the best. It's because like when somebody calls us and we have to go through that front door and go do a hostage rescue or go take down somebody that's really dangerous, everybody's at the same level. Yeah. And that's really, really hard to find later in life. Like a really high performing team. Like when I stopped playing sports, then had my Marine Corps platoon and left that, I didn't think I would find that kind of team again. Because I never like wanted to be a SWAT guy growing up. That wasn't like, it's like, you know, some kids like they do the whole like, I did cops and robbers, and believe me, we did that. But that was never like my goal. Like I didn't like play SWAT and dream to be a SWAT guy. Yeah, I'm a nerd. I was too busy studying all summer academically, okay? Mom made me do homework all year.
So what's the, and well, you know, we've been talking a lot about SWAT or referring back to it, but you ended up getting into shooting. About how many years were you into your career when you got in that first shooting?
I'd only been on patrol for like 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
Yeah, and a year in the jail before that.
So you want to talk a little bit about that and kind of,
yeah, dude.
You know, talk about how the call came out or whatever, you know, leading up to it, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about training and, you know, where you saw training when you first started and where it's at today.
Oh, for sure, dude. Yeah, a lot of good takeaways. So the shooting itself, it's like most critical incidents. I mean, there's definitely some that we've been involved in that were like a little bit higher level. This one was pretty run-of-the-mill, pretty basic. But the takeaways for me at that early in my life were huge. Like they were paramount, and we'll talk about that stuff. But so I'll never forget the date. The year sometimes I forget. I think it was 2017. But the date I'll never forget because it was November 10th, which is the Marine Corps birthday. It's hard to forget when a shooting happens on the Marine Corps birthday. So I think like the incident started around 5, maybe 4. It was dusk. It was just starting to get dark, right? So it's wintertime in Idaho. So it gets dark around 5:30, 6-ish around that time. I think the thing came to fruition around, like I said, 5, but I think it concluded by like 7 p.m. It's pretty quick. But ultimately, what happened was Canyon County Sheriff's Office, neighboring agency, contacts us and said, hey, they have this guy. His name was Ed. Ed has threatened to like harm himself and harm some family members, and he's intoxicated. Whether it was drugs or alcohol, they didn't know. So we had possible DUI, suicidal subject. Not something that we would generally chase for and get into pursuit with, but with the DUI part of it, we're like, let's take a look at this dude. So Canyon, he's not like running from Canyon, but they're like loosely, like it's kind of a more of a failure to yield thing, but they're like, they have a DUI pattern. So we inherit it because they're on some back roads coming into one of our contract cities, which is where I was assigned to at the time. What's probably important to mention is our staffing, and everybody was involved. So we had one supervisor working, myself, another deputy named Matt, and then there was a training car with 2 guys in there. The training officer that was in that car has been a cop he was probably the most senior guy working at that time, super scored away. And then the guy that was the trainee is now on the SWAT team, super phenomenal guy, one of the best pickups we've had. But I think he was 3 weeks into the PTO program, the Patrol Training Officer program. So that's what staffing looked like in the contract city. Now, there were other units in unincorporated South County at the time, but dude, this thing went into one of the most rural areas of our county, and so it was just us, right? So ultimately what ends up happening is Canyon County notifies us, and they're like, hey, can you take a look at this dude? And so we're a little bit apprehensive. We want to vet that all of the criteria has been met to continue to pursue this person, or even just turn our lights and stars on and say, hey, you need to stop so we can talk to you. So the dude comes into our county. We positively identify the vehicle. We get behind the vehicle. At this point, there's just 2 of us. So number 1 car is my buddy Matt, and then I'm the number 2 car. Yeah, and then later the number 3 car joins in. I think that was a training car. I believe that was the order. So Matt and I essentially get the vehicle. we ascertained that this guy's got like a pattern of DUI driving, and then plus with all the suicidal stuff, danger to the public, danger to himself, etc. We're like, okay, let's turn the lights on, see if the guy will stop. There's no traffic at all, so traffic conditions as far as like continuing pursuit have all been met. We attempt to stop the dude, and he just takes off. I wouldn't say it was like a high rate of speed, but if the speed limit is 50 miles per hour, he's going like 20 miles over.
And what time of day was this?
This kicked off at like 5:45, 6-ish.
Okay.
PM.
So was it daylight?
It was
Summertime?
dark still. Yeah, it was like dusk.
Okay.
By the time this thing concluded, it was dark outside. Like it was a nighttime incident.
Yeah.
And so we get behind him. We're going south on Swan Falls Road. We cross the railroad tracks. Of course, there's a train about to go across as usual. So, you know, we hammer down.
Plenty of trains out there.
Tons of trains. Like every 30 minutes, there's a train, it seems like. So he's driving all over the road, but he's not like trying to get away from us. He's just driving quicker, and he's not pulling over. And he's like off into the shoulder, then off in the oncoming lane of traffic. And again, there's no traffic, but just a DUI pattern.
So you guys are just thinking, hey, this is just a DUI.
Yeah, I mean, never in my mind did it cross me like the suicidal aspect of it or the to hurt other people. This was more like to keep the public safe. Because if it's like a suicidal guy driving a vehicle, there's times where we will chase, there's times where we won't if he's only a danger to himself, right? But there was a danger to the public at this point. So we're like, okay, now this guy's in our county. We got to go get him, right? And it's the Marine Corps birthday, so I remember that because I had just gotten off the phone with a guy and talking to him about that, and so. Usually November 10th falls on like a Tuesday. And so it's in the middle of the week. It's not like a Friday. It's not a super busy day, nothing crazy like that. So we're cruising. We're going after him. Supervisor gets on the radio. He's like, yeah, continue the pursuit. Dude, we're following this dude for several miles, like just going south, like you're heading towards the dam. And there's like a small little intersection that I didn't even know existed out there. It's Swan Falls and Victory Lane. So he's going to go
way out there.
Way out there. Yeah. That's where it happened, dude. It's like super rural. There's no houses. It's like high desert, typical high desert, Idaho kind of landscape and terrain. And so at this point, we got 3 cars in the pursuit. I'm calling it because I'm the number 2 car. Number 3 car is a training car. And we start to make the turn onto Victory Lane. And prior to that turn, Matt, who's the 1 car, is like, hey, if this guy slows down and he gives me the right speeds or close to the right speeds, I'm going to pit him. A pit for, I know like not all cops listen, but pursuit intervention technique. Basically, primary pursuing law enforcement vehicle will go up essentially behind the car, and it's like when we spin them out essentially is what's going to happen. So we come up with that plan pretty hasty on the radio. That went super well. Car gets to a speed as it's going like down Victory Lane, like westbound back towards Canyon County. Matt's like, hey, I'm going to pit this car. So Matt gets behind it, executes the picture perfect pit. Pits it out. He does exactly what you're supposed to do. Pits a car out. Car spins. It's now facing my vehicle and the other vehicle, and Matt goes downrange down the road to like block traffic down there and just handle anything downrange, put out some spikes in case this guy can get his vehicle and starts going that way. So now comes the incident, right? So like super unique setup that you never really trained for. The scenarios have been talked about, and we probably ran it to some degree, but like this setup sucks. It's not ideal. So you have 2 cars with 3 cops, which it's 3-1, which is a good place to be. But the guy's facing us. He has his headlights on. He can see us and we can see him. Now we're using more light to overpower him. So we got like our takedowns, our headlights, which are LEDs. I remember he didn't have LED lights on, so that was beneficial for us, and our spotlights. And so we get out, we do the old school felony stop procedure, where you get like the V of the door. Like when the door meets the A-pillar, now we work to the back of the vehicle because it's obviously much safer to stack pillars. But at this point in time, we're still all V'd out. And so I start giving commands. We're like, typical stuff. Hey, Ada County Sheriff's Office, you're under arrest. Put your hands out of the vehicle, put the keys out. Just trying to get him to basically submit to our custody.
Yeah.
This back and forth happens for just, a few seconds, not even a minute. And dude, I remember it like it's a training scenario. Plain as day. Also the craziest feeling I've ever happened to this day, just because I knew exactly what I was seeing, but it's just so surreal because you're just like, this is never going to happen to me. You're always ready for it, but it's just weird, right, when it happens.
Sure.
Plain as day, dude. So he's facing us. His left arm comes out of the window, and I see, dude, like the clearest gun that I've ever seen in my life. It was a handgun. Looked like a 1911 style pistol is what I could tell. Didn't matter. We started shooting. Simple as that. All 3 of us shot. I shot 14 rounds. I know why I shot 14 rounds, which I'll cover in a second. The other guys, between the 2 of them, I think they shot about 8 to 9 rounds. Mm-hmm. But dude, it was crazy. So like the gun comes out of the car, and I just remember seeing it. I had my gun out. We didn't have red dots at the time, so we're just running irons. We were still shooting 40s as well. and we had pistol mounted optics. We just gotten them. Sorry, not pistol mounted optics.
Lights.
Weapon lights. I had that in my weapon lineup, a little TLR1, like 1,000 lumen, just trying to shoot that out. Not the best light in the world, but it's a light. So I'm throwing that on him. And
what was the distance approximate?
oh, dude, 25 yards.
25 yards.
Which is also a crazy training point, right? Because I think we take for granted the distances you can work at.
Yeah.
And so, like, dude, like down and dirty, it was quick. All I remember was seeing the gun. And I remember this is when we were still doing like front sight focus, no target focus stuff. My front sight's clear as day. I have it literally trained on the windshield. And dude, I'm just like, just start pulling the trigger 1 round, 2 round, 3 round. And I'm seeing like glass just popping up off the windshield. I remember like and again, there was 2 other guys shooting. So I don't know for sure if like whose round was hitting, but all I know is that I was shooting and I was seeing glass coming up, and I felt like I was in good control of my gun and good control of myself. So I felt like I was getting good hits. But I see the glass just like shattering, and then somehow, and this is one thing I don't remember as some of the things that happens in the shooting, I'm at the back of the vehicle, I see the gun drop, and as soon as I see the gun drop, I stop shooting. And then those other 2 guys had stopped shooting. I did a quick speed reload because I didn't know how many rounds I'd shot, but I didn't go to slide lock. So I should have quick speed reload. I didn't think to do attack reload because I'm like, I just need to get this thing up and running.
And was that when we had 40s at the time?
Yeah, still
Okay.
at 40s.
Yeah, so it was what, 15 plus 1?
Yeah, 50 plus 1. Yep.
And you fired 14, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a decent. And I knew that because like later when I went back to look at my stuff, I had 1 round in the chamber, and then my mag had 1 bullet in there. Like I actually looked at that for whatever weird reason. But yeah, dude, it was quick. And so I ended up at the back of the vehicle, which I don't remember doing. I found out later that's exactly what I did when I reviewed my body cam footage. So we're back at the vehicle. He's like responsive as far as like physiologically. I didn't know if he'd been hit. I didn't know if he was dead, but he starts moving around in the car. And so we give more commands. Ultimately, it transitioned to us having to apprehend this guy, right? Because, dude, we're so far out there, backup's coming, but they're like miles and miles away. Like the first guy that showed up on scene was a state trooper that was working like some contract out there on the power lines or something. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, because they had a contract to go down and check the dam. I think, down there in Swan Falls, down in the reservoir.
So that was the first guy to show up. A county unit didn't show up till 10, 15, 20 minutes later. The next guy on scene after the trooper was actually one of the parole officers that we worked with, one of the POs that we worked out in Cuna. His name was Rusty. But yeah, I mean, those were our first 2 guys on scene. There was no county assets that showed up till much later because of the remoteness of where we were at. It just takes a long time to get out there. But yeah, dude, so we couldn't wait forever to hold this guy because we're like, okay, he probably got hit. We have to assume that he got hit. So now it's moving to like the apprehension and the render aid part of it. So because we knew there was no units even remotely close, the 3 of us grabbed a shield. We made what I would call at the time, it's not a true immediate action team, but just 3 guys ready to go up to this dude, try to clear it, see if he has any other guns, see if he's, deceased or alive. Regardless, we got to get him out and start rendering some degree of medical aid that's appropriate for the situation. So we go up to the car. We give him commands. I can see the gun laying on the ground. I can see him in the car. He has been shot. I don't remember all where he got shot, but I know he took one in the shoulder and he took one in the face, like through the cheek.
Was everybody shooting pistol?
Yeah, we were all shooting pistols. Okay. Yeah, never worked back to the rifle, never pulled out a rifle, never, honestly, probably had time, given the level of training that I think I had. But anyways, yeah, we go up, we pull him out of the car, we get him out on the pavement. He makes a bunch of like weird statements that I also didn't expect anybody to make after you shoot them. He's like apologizing to us and told us how good of shots we were. And he was under the influence of something, right? Alcohol, drugs. To this day, I don't know, probably both. But I didn't care to find it either because once this thing was done, I just we moved on and we went back to work type of thing. But yeah, he just made a bunch of like really weird statements and thanked us for doing our jobs. Like the exact opposite of a guy that pointed a gun at you. I just didn't expect it. It was super weird. And so, yeah, we start rendering aid. We're trying to like put some pressure on the thing on his shoulder and didn't really know how to deal with the wound in the face, but he was talking. So I was like, it's probably not the big of the deal. It's not really bleeding a ton. So just try to put pressure on that.
That was before TAC Med became a thing, like now, right?
Yeah, now we have a much better, and I wasn't even on the SWAT team at this point. So like my medical, I had decent medical training. That's not a flex, but like from the Marine Corps, I was like, the basic like lifesaver course and all that stuff. I went through all that. So like I knew what I was doing, but at the same time, it was still weird. So, we just patched him up, stuffed some wounds, put some gauze on, just like 101 basic level care. And then the cavalry shows up and the medics show up and we're done. And then we do our CAT debrief, go down to the hotel. They take our gun.
Talk about what happens once the scene's secure, right?
Yeah.
You guys take the guy. do your medical, scene secure, supervisors, detectives start to show up. What happens at that point?
So it's kind of a multifaceted event. So ultimately what happens is the supervisor shows up. They enact the CITF protocols, Critical Incident Task Force protocols. Our Critical Incident Task Force, or CITF, is comprised of all the organizations in the Valley. And one agency is always in charge. And so whoever the involved agency is, another agency will investigate it. So for this one, for instance, Boise Police was primary since we were all Ada County deputies. So supervisor shows up. They just do a post-shooting debrief, which they don't ask any questions regarding the investigation, but it's how many rounds, in what direction, who all is involved, do you think there was any error rounds, just a down and dirty debrief. And then they set up a hotel for you.
Real quick. But those questions, I know, because a lot of guys are like, oh, I'm not going to say anything until my attorney's there, right? But those questions typically, in policy, say, hey, you have to give a safety brief, and that's what they consider that as a safety brief, just to make sure they know, hey, what directions rounds went in case somebody is hit downrange, so they can go down and check on people. Is there any other suspects still on the loose? It's just basically things that have to do with safety.
Immediate public safety, and they're meant to be they're not criminal based questions that can be used in the investigation because they're very generic in nature. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really change the course of your actions or the incident, but it can change if another suspect's on the loose. Just public safety stuff continuing, which is actually pretty common in a lot of incidents. Later in life, we've had some where we got into an engagement with one guy and then there was another guy that we had to apprehend. So they are very important. So you do that down and dirty thing that happens with every cop. And then they set up a hotel that we all go to, which obviously I won't say in the podcast because I don't want the general public to probably know that for OPSEC reasons, but they sequester you. So they get you a companion officer. Somebody drives you down there. You can request a companion officer to meet you down there of your choice. My brother was actually working for Meridian Police at the time, so I asked for him to come meet me down there.
Okay, I was going to say, you never called me, so.
Yeah, I mean, you were still working there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. That hurts, actually.
That's
we probably just end the podcast on that note, dude.
That's good to get
my first call was not Raul.
Family's better.
Family's better, yeah. I thought about you, though.
I don't like to eat curry, so.
You didn't want to eat with us in the hotel?
No, I was like,
I specifically requested curry.
Yeah, I was like, I had enough of that when I went to that other country that.
Oh yeah, we talk about that later too.
That will be unnamed for.
Yeah, we'll name that, but we all know what you were doing over there. So apparently the State Department cleared it. Anyways, yeah, man. So they do that. You get a ride down with another cop. You get down to the hotel, and everybody's sequestered. You get different separate rooms, and then essentially with the protocol, super simple: blood sample, urine analysis. They take pictures of you. They call them the first contact photos. So whatever you were wearing and the equipment that you had, they take photos of you. And then they take all your stuff. So you call your spouse or your loved one or whoever, your mom, dad, to bring you some clothes. They take all your gear, your gun. You change over, order some food if you want to order some food because you're going to be there for a minute.
That's why I didn't go.
Curry. Free meal, dude.
It's going to be curry.
The hotel wasn't making curry for me. So that was part of my debrief was I said, you guys need to have food that accommodates all cultures and people. But, yeah, dude, so they take all your stuff, and then, chief deputy at the time showed up, gave me another gun, and that's it, dude. It's super simple. They don't ask any questions. They don't really do anything. They just take photos and all the different samples that they need to make sure that, you weren't under the influence of drugs or drunk or all those types of things that they need to clear from a formal aspect. And then ultimately what happens is 3 to 4 days
You're not interviewed that day, though, right?
No, not at all. Yeah, I mean,
Not like your formal...
Correct.
Interview with the detectives to.
Yep. Yeah, they try to space that out. So this happened on a Tuesday. I think we did our interview the following Monday. So they gave us the rest of the week off through the weekend. The time, you could take as much time as you need to, realistically. You could take or as little time as you need to. But obviously, Forest Science and some of these other institutions have determined there's I think a recommended amount of time, 3 to 4 days, or I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I think it's 24 to 48 hours, I believe.
Yeah. So to I guess decompress and fully remember all the minutia and all the details. But yeah, so that following Monday, dude, you sit down with a representative from your agency, your attorney if you want one there, from whatever organization you contract through. And then there's a representative or two from the organization that's investigating this. So in this case, it was Boise Police. And you don't have to write the report. They write it for you, but they have you just walk through the incident. They let me watch my body cam footage as well. They didn't think that was a big deal to review it ahead of time. I know that used to be really weird. They're they want you to recall from memory, but they're like, this is a tool of yours, so just recite what happened. But it's a very comprehensive interview. It took me several hours to get through mine because they're talking about everything that got you there. It actually ends up being less about the actual use of force because that's pretty cut and dry. Somebody pointed a gun at you and you used the force that was appropriate to deal with that threat. But it's everything that got you there, right? Everything that precipitated the incident, what you did during, and then certainly what you did afterwards. They get it, and they ask you a bunch of questions about your training and experience. Were you qualified on your firearm? Did you modify any of your firearms? Is there anything that you would have done differently? Just it's very comprehensive, and then ultimately they write the report for you, and then several days later, maybe weeks later, they send you a report for review, and they're like, "Hey, is this factual to your knowledge based on what you experienced?" And I reviewed it. My attorney reviewed it. Not that I was worried about anything, but it was recommended to me like, "Hey, dude,
You're basically writing down what you said in the interview."
They write down what you said, man, and then you're like, "Hey, this stuff is accurate. This isn't accurate." They make the necessary changes, or you can do an interview again if you need to. Mine was pretty cut and dry, so got the report. They did a great job communicating what I'd expressed to them. And then one day they sent all this stuff off to a prosecutor that's not in your county. I can't remember who reviewed ours, either Valley or like Bingham County or something. I don't remember, Blaine maybe. But long story short, one day sheriff hits you up, sends you an email or calls you, and he's like, "Hey, dude, this thing's been cleared. You were found justified." And then you move on with your life and then eventually get all your stuff back.
Were you even worried about that?
No.
Probably something you didn't even think about, huh?
No, not at the time. I think about it more now when I teach people. Because like I've had some incidences like the one where you guys came out where I got shot at by that dude, and you guys came out on the SWAT team and ended up having to use force on him.
Yeah.
That one was a little bit different on that CITF because there was a lot more moving parts. So on that one, I did think about it because the way the investigation went, and there was some information that they thought was left out, whatever. But now when I like teach people like firearms and stuff, I certainly talk to them about like, hey, making sure you have adequate representation and things like that. But as a brand new cop, it was so cut and dry because a guy pointed a gun at us out of a window, and we reacted as what I deemed to be appropriate at the time, and it was appropriate, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't excessive. It wasn't, I think, an under response, because you can definitely respond inappropriately by not doing enough to kind of mitigate that situation. It was just right. It's what we needed to do, and that's all it was. It's super simple. Like it's cut and dry. It was a job, but I would be lying if I said it didn't change me and the direction of my career. Because that happened, dude, like I said, like 3 years into my job. And you always, I think if you have the right mindset, you always anticipate that might happen. But until it happens, you never really it's not real until it happens.
And how did it change the way you looked at the job after that?
Everything, dude. So I guess the first thing that I learned was, and this is going to sound, I don't mean this to sound arrogant or like a flex, but when I went back and I watched my video, like I was very content with my performance.
You're like, is that John Wick?
I was like, damn, dude. I was John Wick before John Wick was around, dude. I was the original John Wick. So here's the thing, man. And I can say this now because I've thought about it a lot. I've had incidences that I've been involved in. On the SWAT
You've had a
team,
few.
Patrol. I've had a few, right? Mm-hmm. And I've not looked at every single one and said, damn, I crushed that. This one, I crushed it. And so did everybody that was there. And the reason why, and this is what's really important, is I went into that incident with phenomenal training and the right mindset. And none of that, I mean, part of it's inherent, right? Part of it I had, but a lot of it was built because of guys like yourself that took training seriously and took instruction seriously. And thank God, by God's grace, I took your guys' training seriously, but the buy-in was there because you guys had prepared us. So when I look back at that incident, there was a lot of things that went well. Got out, gave commands, drew my gun. By the way, the fastest draw I probably ever had to this day in my life. Like that cleared leather like it was nobody's business, dude. Light came on perfectly.
You know you're old when you say clear leather.
Cleared leather, dude. Yeah, I just like to say that because it makes me sound like I know what I'm talking about. I've never had a leather holster in my life,
Makes
dude.
you sound like you're old.
I've never had leather. Yeah. I couldn't even draw out a leather, dude. That's all plastic for me, dude. Plastics make it possible. But
cleared plastic.
Cleared plastic, dude. Yeah, that sounds stupid. It sounds way cooler to say cleared leather, dude. But yeah, man, like I did a reload. I walked back to cover. I felt like I was in complete control of myself. I felt like I was in complete control of my adrenaline, all my physiological factors. Like I was in control of that situation.
It's a lot of things they talk about, like force science talks about, right? You're going to get tunnel vision. You're going to get auditory exclusion. Mm-hmm. Things are going to speed up or slow down. Did you experience some of those things?
Yeah, for sure, dude. So,
because not everybody does.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen all the time. Some people it happens to, and some people it doesn't. A lot of times it just depends on your maturity, what your training's like, what your confidence level is, all that kind of stuff.
No auditory exclusions. I had time slowed down when I needed to shoot. Because I remember hyper-focusing, seeing the gun, and then seeing my front side and watching the glass just pop up off that windshield. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, I remember that to this day. I can picture that in my mind. You know, like if I could paint that for you right now, I could paint it like Picasso, dude. Like that's how clear it is in my mind. And that's really the only like physiological human performance type of thing that I experienced was time slowed down, but then it went right back to normal. As soon as I saw that gun hit the ground and drop out of his hand, it was like, okay, let's go back to work. Like threat's been resolved. Now let's move to the next phase of this. But dude, honestly, that's because the guys like you, Carl, Jared, like, I mean, I'll just mention you three, honestly, were probably the biggest mindset influences that I had. And the biggest influences with regards to like understanding like that situation may never happen in your career, but when it does, you need to be ready for it. It's that 1% that we always talk about.
And, you know, and nowadays you can tell people when it happens to you, because it seems like you guys have a lot of shootings.
Dude.
Ada County's had a lot. Boise, I mean, this whole valley, every agency from, you know, Nampa, Caldwell, Boise PD, you know, Ada County, it's like everybody's having shootings. And sometimes it seems like there's 2 or 3 a month sometimes.
Easily.
In the valley.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be like you'd go into a briefing or a patrol block training or something, and you'd be like, hey, how many guys were in a CITF? And there was a couple of you guys that raised your hands. Yeah. And now, dude, it's like probably 50 to 60%. Yeah. And, you know, we could discuss like why it's all happening. But, yeah, dude, it is 100% a matter of when. It's funny, too, when you mention that. Not funny, but ironic you mentioned that because as an instructor, when I have like laterals come in or we're teaching at the basic academy level, I say the same exact thing. I'm like, dude, when you guys hit the street, like, honestly, at this point, the way the valley's grown and just the level of criminal that we have in our community now that didn't once exist, and if they did, it was very sporadic, less frequent, you will probably, if you're not the shooter, you'll be a peripheral on that incident in some capacity.
You'll be involved somehow.
Yeah, you'll be there.
What surprises me is how many guys that I've talked to that come from the West Coast, big city agencies, 10, 15 years, never had a OIS. They come here, they think, oh, this is a safer place, smaller towns, and they end up having an OIS or getting hurt on the job here.
We've had guys show up that are here for like 4 weeks, and it's their first shooting ever. Yeah. You know, and a lot of them come here moving from California at a really high like operational tempo to like a place where it's definitely slower than where they were working, but it ends up being a little bit more crazier maybe than they thought. Yeah. And also just, I mean...
I think the dangerous thing about working here sometimes, I think, is I always tell people day to day, it's shaking hands, kissing babies, man. Mm-hmm. You're doing a lot of public relations work, you know, shaking hands with people, being nice to people, and then all of a sudden, boom, somebody flips a switch, and you're running code to get there, and some dude's firing shots or whatever, and, you know, it happens fairly often around here.
100%. And, dude, that's a good point, too, because, like, even if I look back on, like, the incidences that, you know, like, we were involved in, and, like, personal ones, whether it was on the team or not, most of the time, I was just doing basic cop policing functions. Mm-hmm. Like you said, shaking hands, kissing babies, making some traffic stops, going and doing some patrol level investigations. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you got to flip the switch because it's like, hey, this guy just killed 2 people in Meridian, SWAT team can activate it. Let's go get this guy. Mm-hmm. Like it flips that quickly because it's not like we go from fight to fight, from shooting to shooting like you do if you were working in like a Memphis or an Oakland. But when it happens here, it usually goes pretty hard. Like the guys that we're dealing with, when they kind of go to the point where they want to cause the public or us harm, they're usually pretty committed. This incident that I was involved in, it was definitely a suicide by cop type of thing. But even the level of commitment to where he's willing to do that, like they're usually going to go all the way. Yeah. Whatever that means.
But you've had a few other incidents since then that you've been involved in too that you're probably like, oh, I'm glad my training has evolved and gotten better, right? So how have you seen, well, first let's go back. You said you saw your sights when you were shooting your pistol, right? You fired 15 rounds. Do you remember exactly where you said you remember exactly where you're aiming, and the guy just disappeared, or did he flop over? Had that?
Yeah, he was kind of leaned down in the seat already, but what I remember was he kind of leaned down even more, but the gun dropped out of his hand. Mm-hmm. That's how I knew that, whether it was our gunfire or not, because I didn't know if I was hitting him.
And so do you think the rounds didn't hit him just because they were being deflected by the car windshield, the metal, and all that kind of stuff? Because both just go different directions when they hit
I think that was part of it. I also think that it's because he was leaned down in the seat, because where the rounds impact him. This is just my kind of, this is my personal opinion. I haven't really thought about it much since then, but he was kind of leaned down and angled over. And so I think that's why he took one on the shoulder and one on the side of the face. I think had he been sitting upright in the seat, it might have been a different outcome. And fortunately, you know, we never want somebody to die in these situations, right? You know, I think it's a common misconception that when we use deadly force, we do it to kill people, but that's not the goal. The goal is to stop a threat, right? And we stopped the threat. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm glad this guy survived and all that stuff, but I think that's why he survived, is because just his personal angle in the vehicle, us shooting into the windshield, and the windshield was facing us. And so, yeah, a lot of different factors that led to him being struck, but not in places that would have caused him to perish. But yeah.
And so you talked a little bit about your training leading up to that, and talk maybe about how you've seen training from back then when you first started, how it's kind of evolved, or what do you see your own agency, or what were we doing good back in the day, or what are you guys doing good now? I know now that you're on the team, I know even since the 5 years or so since I retired, you guys have gone leaps and bounds even better than since I left the team.
Yeah. The number one thing that we had back then, and we still have today, was the mindset piece. So there was a few guys, and I mentioned the names, yourself included. You guys had the right mindset. So regardless of the equipment, the training, the budgets, that never mattered, the mindset's free, right? So you guys always worked on that mindset piece. Simple stuff. Being on the range, whether you have a red dot or not, an optic light, the worst gun in the world, the worst equipment, doesn't matter. Like, I remember one range D did with us, it was like those get off the X drills where we'd run diagonally towards a target. Dude, and you were getting on us.
Yeah.
Like, you were like, get your gun out of your freaking holster and get off the X because your life depends on it. And you know what? You don't care about yourself. What about this dude sitting next to you? What about the innocent public that needs you to survive this incident and deal with this problem, whether it's deadly force or not? Obviously, we're training deadly force today. So the mindset piece has always been there. What's really evolved, dude, the number one thing, well, first of all, there's just been a linear progression in training. Like, we haven't stagnated and we haven't regressed. And that's because there's guys pushing for us to do certain things. But the biggest difference, hands down, that's probably just in a firearms capacity, is going to pistol-mounted optics. 100%.
Yeah.
Because there is nobody that is thinking logically that will tell you they shoot better with irons and that irons are more effective. And if they say that, it's because they've been trained inadequately or they haven't been exposed appropriately on how to use a pistol-mounted optic. Because the red dot has 100%, and there's studies, right, to show this, but even anecdotally and across our organization, we're way more accurate. We are better at processing because we're not focused on the front side. We can process way more. We can see way more. But that's like training. The training hasn't changed, but it's just linearly progressed because training has continued to modernize, and we've stayed kind of at the cusp of that because there's people in our training academy. Because we started our own academies, that's a huge thing that we've done too.
Yeah.
That's brought in everything in house. And not that we do all of our training in-house because we bring other instructors in and send people places, but being able to control kind of our philosophies, our training methodology is huge, and that's a very experienced cadre. But our training now, dude, the schools that we send guys to, like the Darcy stuff, the Direct Action Resource Center stuff, like the counterterrorism courses, you want to talk about mindset, leadership, task organization, even down to like explosive breaching stuff that we're doing, like that's what's helped the team evolve. And then like when the team guys go out and teach, that stuff permeates. Even our patrol level guys are getting phenomenal training because the academy coordinators are going to the centrifuge stuff, they're going to Darcy, they're going to the cutting edge schools, and they're bringing this training back. But the real reason why is not so much the training, it's because the guys are going out and getting the training and bringing it back. Same thing that you were doing.
Yeah.
We have a better budget now too. That helps. Money's always, the kind of linchpin in the amount of training that you can get. But we still have guys that'll go pay for it on their own.
Yeah.
A lot of competition guys coming in and training with us. A lot of guys shooting competition. We go out now to SWAT competitions around the country, like the one down in Utah and the ones that we posted here.
Yeah, I like, when I go shoot a local USPSA match or two-gun match, it's not uncommon for me to see, 5-6 guys who are with the county or with the city showing up, on the weekends and shooting matches on their own.
The biggest complaint that I've heard, and this is why I disagree with it wholeheartedly, is that this new generation of guys, they're softer, they're not in it for the right reasons. There's always going to be a few people that aren't in it for the right reasons, whatever. They were there for your generation, they're for mine and the new generation. But the guys that we're hiring right now, and gals, are this new generation, if we will. They're the most competent, intelligent people that we've ever hired, like hands down. That's the big difference, is we're hiring right now. We've always hired good people, but dude, we're hiring like the cream of the crop. I don't know where our department's finding these dudes and how we're able to compete with like the private sector, but I'm telling you, like just the guys that we have on the team, they're phenomenal. Like these dudes, the buy-in is there. They're putting the reps in off duty. Their fitness is great. Like again, their social emotional intelligence is phenomenal, but they care and they're still in it for the right reasons. They have different things that motivate them, different ways you have to communicate with them. Like definitely have to tell them a little bit more that they're doing a good job because they need to feel good about themselves. But what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Tell a guy that they did all right. Who cares? But dude, like training has evolved, but it's not any specific course or any instructor. It's because we've evolved with the training and the people that we hire want better training and they're bought in too. Because, like, I remember my first couple block trainings when I was not an instructor. You had some old heads, dude, at the sheriff's office that just didn't give a crap. Mm-hmm. And I would say now when I go to block training or jail or courts, dude, they want to be there. They want the training. They try hard. Mm-hmm. And we have the best patrol cops we've ever had. Like, right now, they're the best they've ever been. That's why most of the time SWAT doesn't get called that anymore, because patrol handles business. They're so good at what they do. Mm-hmm. Much better than when I was on the streets, you know? Yeah. Like, even as an individual cop. Like I said, I'm just trying to keep up with these dudes. Yeah. But that's the biggest change, I think. So, amongst many. But.
What do you think about, I don't know if you've heard it, but it seems like every time I look at social media, I'm on there way too much, but it's the way I follow all the gun stuff, you know. But I hear constantly, police don't do this, police don't do that when it comes to firearms training, especially. They're like, oh, cops need to do performance pistol type training, and they need to do competition training. What's been your experience throughout your career? Have you seen that or not?
No.
That
we need to do it or we don't need to do it?
That people, or that our agencies are not doing that around here. Because I hear all the time, people always say, oh, police officers don't do performance pistol training. They don't do competitive shooting. They don't bring in competition shooters. They don't do this, they don't do that.
Exact opposite. We 100% bring in competition. We 100% encourage competition. We even have it set up to where if guys want to go shoot competition, we'll give them the ammo to go do it. Yeah. For patrol guys and SWAT, doesn't matter. Like, if you want to go grab a few hundred rounds, 500-600 rounds, you're going to go use it for actual training. Dude, you can. I was doing that when I first joined the team, when we were shooting all the steel challenge matches, getting ready for SWAT competitions. Yeah. Yeah, and like, you have to bring in competition, guys, because, dude, it's like if you're an athlete, right? If you're even the highest level football players still have strength coaches. There's a reason why. Yeah. Why would I not bring in some of the best shooters in the world to teach me what I can't learn anything from these guys? It's like that old debate of like, I'm a combat shooter. What does that even mean? Yeah. You know, like, well, I don't even know what that means. I want to be able to process and engage as accurately and quickly as possible. And I can learn that from competition shooters. Now I have to be able to apply it to like my world, because when I go into a structure and I'm clearing corners and doing all this stuff, I'm not necessarily working at like a USPSA match, but that's for me to apply those hard skills to the context of room clearing. But even when it comes to room clearing, we're still going and learning that stuff from other people. So you just can't be a prophet in your own land is ultimately what it comes down to. And we are 100%, at least in the Treasure Valley. Dude, I mean, even when I go teach like at Darcy and some other places around the country, most organizations, if the department is not paying for it, guys are going out and getting that training. And then they're bringing it back. And I would hope at some point that myth of like, we don't go get this training, cops don't do performance shooting, goes away, because we're 100% doing it, even if we don't have access to it.
Actually, I hear that all the time on social media. I'm just like, where are these people training at? Because I've never seen that here. I remember in 1992 going to the police academy here in Boise, Idaho, and two of my instructors, I don't know if you probably remember them, probably your dad's generation, Paul Carrera and Vic Cortez.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And if I remember right, both those guys were on the board of directors for USPSA here at the Nampa Rod and Gun Club back in the day. And I remember at the academy, they set up courses of fire, just like USPSA matches. They were using our patrol cars where we'd roll out of a car, shoot, steel popper targets that would fall down, and run and gun type of stuff. And it's just like, that was always encouraged ever since I went to the academy in '92 here in Idaho. But I hear like, just like a couple days ago, I saw something like that on Instagram. It's just like, maybe I'm just not traveling around the country to see it, but that's never been my experience in law enforcement ever.
Yeah.
And I've heard a few people here and there that didn't really want to do it, but not that they said it's not good for what we do.
That's crazy that rhetoric is still out there, and that's really what it is, just rhetoric, probably just for clicks and stuff like that and some exposure. But, I even have some good buddies that work for some very small organizations here in Idaho, like small, like less than 10, where the chief is taking domestic violence reports, like that small. Yeah. And they may not have the budget to go procure like really high-end training, because it does cost money. And budgeting, again, budget is always a limiting factor, but it's not that they don't want the training, and they still understand like performance training is important, whether it doesn't matter what kind of training it is, as long as it's valid training. But like, these guys all go shoot competitions. I have a buddy that I was in the Marine Corps with. I went to a class a while ago, and he was in there, and he's totally revamping their training program. But he's like, we can't afford it, so they got a couple guys there. They just go pay for it themselves. They go, like, a couple of them were at your law enforcement conference, your firearms conference. They went out when last time Tim Herron came out. Like, they put the time on their own. Everybody wants the training. It's hard because It is expensive. And, when you start off at a law enforcement organization in a rural area, you're not making a ton of money. You got kids and a wife, so you're not going to go pay $700, $800, $900 for these classes plus ammo. But that doesn't mean they don't want the training. We 100%, I think law enforcement as a whole, when a high-level instructor comes in and says, hey, dude, I'm going to teach you how to perform at the highest level you can, whatever facet it is. Doesn't matter. EVOC, firearms, de-escalation, whatever you want to do. Yeah. We're not going to say no to that. And we're just lucky because we come from an organization that fortunately did have a budget and things like that. And so I think, but even then, we're still limited at times. How many trainings have you paid for out of your own pocket?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's times where agency just, hey, we don't have the money. So.
And that's okay, right? Like, again, like we worked for technically the biggest law enforcement organization in Idaho, and we've been told no because we didn't have a budget to go to training. Like the first couple times where I went and ID'd down at Darcy, I paid for that out of pocket.
Yeah.
But it was worth it for me because the self-development was necessary and the team development was necessary. Yeah. And I only did it to share the skills with the team.
So, like I say, I know you've had quite a bit of experience, everything from just being a regular street cop to, doing SWAT. You've been involved in some critical incidents over the years. What would you recommend people train on to prepare themselves for something like that? For if you're a young cop just getting out on your own.
Yeah, dude, that's a great question. So the number one thing that you can do are the things that you can control. So number one is your mindset. You have to be thinking about every bad thing that can happen, how you're going to mitigate it. I remember driving around in my car and looking at 5 Mile Lake Hazel to Jackson, be like, if this thing got robbed right now, what would I do as the responding unit? If an active shooter happened at this house, how would I breach into this house? How would I go into this house? So the mindset piece is huge. You can build mindset too. You can build leadership because you have to practice it. So how you practice mindset is staying engaged when you're at training, staying engaged when you're on calls, learning from people that are senior to you that you trust and respect and know how to do the job. Listen to podcasts like this one. Read books.
Especially this one.
My number one, you were top, what were you, top 5 for me at the end of my year? My Spotify Wrapped, I think you were number 3 most listened to. But there is so much free content that you can consume to build mindset. But that's the first thing that you can do. Training mindset comes with how seriously you take training. So when you go to your in-service training and you're doing an active shooter day, you're going to see, and this is just a carte blanche painting, but 50% of the guys might not care, and 10% of them will be dialed, and then the rest, the middle 40 will kind of be whatever, right? Be one of those 5 or 10% that's really engaged. Don't care what other people think about you. Take the training seriously. Get in the right mindset. So mindset's the number one free thing that you can do to prep yourself. The number 2 thing that I would train on, and this is always going to be my foundation, is physical fitness. It's free. Yeah. I had a staff sergeant in the Marine Corps, one of my first tank commanders. He made this quote. It was super simple. He said, strong body supports strong minds. That's why we PT in the Marine Corps. That's why it was so strong body supports strong minds. Right? Because if your body can just go, right? I remember doing some crazy rucks in the Marines, and you may have the mindset, but if you know your body's going to break down at some point or it's going to perform inadequately, or you're going to step out of your car and blow your Achilles out because you're overweight or you haven't dealt with an injury or you're just out of shape, your mindset's not going to be there. And not to mention the physiological benefits that you get from physical fitness with regards to mitigating some of the tachypsyche or that accelerated heart rate or dealing with your cortisol and adrenaline dumps throughout a critical incident. Physical fitness helps you mitigate and manage all of that. And you don't have to be a 5-star freaking recruit, athlete, D1. Just do some basic stuff. Get your steps in, get some workouts in, have a program. Just do something. It's better than nothing.
And I heard one time, I don't know where this stat came from, and it was from Doug Petchel when I went to Countermeasures Tactical Institute. He's a former Delta guy, but anyway, he said that he really emphasized the physical fitness part. He said that the stat that he said was just doing a warrant service raid, for a SWAT guy, which is from the time you hit the door until you finish clearing the house is 1 minute, right?
That, yeah.
He says that the stress that's on your body was equivalent to a 3-mile run, just that 1 minute raid. So
yeah, it's and there's so much from a strength and conditioning background. When you, let's say you weigh 200 pounds and you throw 30 or 40 pounds worth of kit on there. So when you step out of the back of the Bearcat, so I don't remember the ground reaction forces when you step on with your normal body, when you do a run, but it's significant. It's amplified by 10x, 15x, whatever. So imagine stepping out of the back of a Bearcat and you've never prepared to step out with that kind of load on, or even as a patrol cop, dude, law enforcement's the only job where you're always deployed.
Yeah.
We've had buddies in the military. I have a good buddy that just got out of the Rangers, and they treat those guys like D1 athletes, right? But he only deploys for 1, 2, 3 months at a time, and then he has an off season, a preseason, and an in season. Dude, we're always in season. And so You're going from sitting on your butt for 10 hours to like an active shooter coming on. You got to dial up, flip the switch, throttle up, whatever you want to call it, and just go. You can be at a dead sprint. So physical fitness is the foundation. And then the other stuff I would work on, dude, and it's hard to say because if you ask 10 different cops, they'll tell you different things. So I'm we're all just our experiences kind of dictate how we take things and how seriously we take things. But I would tell you this. We have to be good at a lot of things. We have to be perfect at only a few things. And the things that we have to be perfect at is when somebody calls 911 and they're in such a dire situation that they can't help themselves. They call you. You're expected to perform. And usually that performance looks like you having to engage in some type of physical or deadly force with somebody. Those are the incidents that I'm talking about. So being that is like the 1%, 2% of stuff that we do.
So you probably better practice with that firearm. Better be good at it.
Dude, we all think we're so good at being cops. It's like jiu-jitsu stuff. I remember my first time like wrestling, doing jiu-jitsu like as an adult and just getting my butt kicked by some 17-year-old kids. Same thing with firearms, dude. Don't let the first time you've cleared leather in like months be the time that you have to like use deadly force to shoot an active shooter in a school. Like don't let that be the time because it will not go the way that you want it to. And time is of the essence. So I would dry fire. That's free. The thing is, dude, you don't have to do a lot of any of this. You just have to do it consistently. You know, you don't need to dry fire for 5 hours once a week. You need to dry fire for 10 minutes every single day, consistently.
Yeah, consistency.
Consistency. Same with PT, right?
Yeah.
I don't need to work out for 5 hours. I just need to do 30 to 45 minutes to an hour every day, a couple times a week, just something. So yeah, I would work
if
on.
That's all you can do because some of us can go longer.
You just want to be like B level or whatever, dude. You don't want to be on the A player, but yeah, I mean, that's what I'd work on, dude. Mindset and physical fitness. It's free. It's the foundation. You don't need a gym membership. You don't need to buy a book. It's all out there. All the content's out there. And then, dude, I would just at least, if you're a patrol guy, this is the advice that you guys gave us is if you don't do it on your off days because you want to just hang out with your family and do stuff or whatever, that's fine. But you're going to work probably 4 to 5 days a week before you go on shift. Take all your ammo out, make it all safe, do all that stuff, and just draw like 10 or 12 times, dude. Like it's simple stuff. It'll go a long way. And I did do that back then, and it 100% played a role in my ability to perform in any incident I've been in. And I've definitely had times where, like, I taper off or I don't do any dry fire because I make excuses for myself. Yeah. But
what do you think? I know you've been in a few incidents, and either you were pulling the trigger or you were there or you were assisting on a, somebody with major injuries, that kind of stuff. What about guys that, they come away from those things, they have nightmares, they have, I don't know what, I guess you'd call it like a PTSD type episode. What's the difference between the guys who have that and the guys who don't? Because not everybody gets it. Obviously, and also sometimes it depends on the severity of the call, right? I mean, it can be different levels of that, but you do see some guys who really struggle with, they have one incident, and they really, really struggle, and they get out of the job or go to a desk job, and some people, they go have an OIS, and then they're on another one, or they're going to, they're still running and gunning. So what do you think the difference is between the guys who struggle mentally and those who don't?
I think it's like I talk a lot, obviously you know that. So there's a multifaceted answer here, I think. There's not one key characteristic, but a lot of it's going to be mindset. That's why we compartmentalize better. A lot of it's...
Yeah, but what does that mean? What's the mindset? What does that mean?
I think... Okay, so I'll use myself as an example. We all have had nightmares. We've all dealt with PTS to some degree, and we've all had calls that have affected us. The difference is you have to recognize that it's okay. You have to recognize that if it's affecting you, need to go talk about it and deal with it. And that at the end of the day, dude, it's not for everybody. And so if you have to get out of the profession, get out. That's okay too. If you got to find something else, find something else. I think the difference between guys that stay in and the guys that get out is, and this is going to sound super basic, but some guys, dude, we're just kind of just wired for it, man. I think the difference is, and then we take it seriously. We understand when we have things going on, when we're dealing with trauma, and sometimes it becomes too much. We'll go talk about it, but the reason why we're going to talk about it is because we want to get back on the team. We want to get back in it because it's super serious. So I think the mindset piece is...
You think it makes a difference for the guys who are involved in a critical incident and they're able to come home and talk to their spouses about it versus 100%. Those who don't? Because there's guys who won't talk about anything at home, and I know some spouses don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
But I find that, at least for me, it was always healthy for me to come back and talk to my spouse. You know,
You have to decompress. There's healthy ways to do it. There's unhealthy ways to do it, right? And if you don't have a spouse, find somebody on your team that you trust. You just have to get it off your chest. You know, I'll tell you that critical incident that we just debriefed. I was totally content with the way everything occurred, but I felt great when I finally got to talk about it. So when I first went home, the first thing I did after that is I went to my parents' house.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to talk to my dad. I didn't want my parents to come down there. Also, dude, weird story that I didn't mention before. This is crazy. Who's the first person that you think called me after that shooting happened? I'll put you on the spot here. Who's the first person you think that called me? I'm talking, dude, I can still smell powder in the air. My mom.
Your mom?
So she calls me. I didn't know that she called me because my phone's going off. I'm like, so we handle the problem. We do everything. We come back. Sarge is debriefing us. And I look at my phone because it's just like been ringing the whole time. And the next call is my mom again. What's crazy, dude, is there was a guy in the jail listening. He heard the shooting go off and he called my dad. And the first person that called me was my mom. And so also I think the key there is remember that like this stuff affects the people around us too. Like my mom did not want me to join the Marine Corps because she's like, you're going to go to war, you're going to die. She was proud of me when I did, but she didn't want me to. My mom did not want me to become a cop.
Yeah.
She's like, I've been married to your dad now for 30 plus years. And I've seen all the crap that he's had to go to and the nights where I didn't think he was going to come home. I don't want my son to do this. So I think like part of that mindset piece too is like understand that even if, dude, that shooting didn't affect me at all. I don't think about it. There's other stuff that's kept me up late at night, but that wasn't one of them. But it does affect the people around us. And that'll tear you apart more than anything else. So you at least need to talk to people to help them rationalize it because like my wife and my brother met me there at the hotel. And I said, my wife was like, hey, are you ready to go home? I'm like, we need to go to my parents' house. I have to go talk to my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
And my dad's a decompression mechanism for me anyways because he's done the job. He did it for almost 30 years at that point in time. But I had to talk to my mom because my mom was freaking out. She was losing her mind. She's like, are you okay? Like, she doesn't know what's going on. She's like, is my son okay? So, yeah, man, to your point, you have to talk about it. It doesn't matter who you talk to. You don't have to talk to a counselor necessarily, but you just got to talk to somebody.
But guys do need to remember that those conversations can be subpoenaed. So one of the things I talk about too is, it's important for guys, if you see a guy who's been involved in some type of critical incident, it doesn't have to be that they were in a shooting, but maybe they went to some kind of death scene or whatever, watch out for your guys and make sure you reach out and don't just say, hey, call me if you need anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to show up on the doorstep and like, hey, let's go to lunch.
Yep.
And you don't need to talk about that incident.
Yep.
And that's what, especially non-law enforcement people need to understand. Hey, you go talk to your buddy who was a cop and involved in some incident.
Yeah, we can't talk about it.
He can't just talk about it. And you're going to get, that conversation is going to get subpoenaed. You're going to, even if you're not a cop, that can get subpoenaed. So they need to realize, hey, if he's not talking about it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I think it's good to be able to talk to your spouse.
Or clergy or somebody like that. Yeah. And I think like the other thing too, and I mean, I grew up Hindu. I was raised to be religious. So not that this is a religious podcast, but I think...
No, I think a lot of times people that have a foundation, a religious foundation, believing a higher power, in my experience, it seems like they're the ones who have the least amount of problems.
For sure. The thing about having like a faith or something to believe in is I remember one of the first alert classes I took when I first started getting the instructor space, and there was a guy that had been there, done that. He was an Army vet and all this stuff, and he'd been in some active shooters in Texas. One of the lead instructors, his name was Russ. He was never a religious guy, but after he had lost some buddies and had some incidences, he found God and found religion and all this stuff. And he said the biggest thing that having faith did for him was it answered questions when he needed them to be answered, when he couldn't answer them himself. And honestly, dude, like, when in the absence of not understanding what happened on some of the things I've experienced in my life, having like a faith to just fall back on answers those questions for me. So I don't have to try to fill in the narrative myself.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. And we find faith in different things. It doesn't have to be in God. It doesn't have to be in religion. But find a belief in something and just, family, something. Have a purpose, dude. The other thing I'll say too is if you're just doing this job as kind of like a 9 to 5 because of benefits and the pay is good, you should really consider if you're in it for the right reasons. Because the hard thing about law enforcement, we don't want to talk about this a lot, but you know this, it'll take so much from you. You have to be okay with that. Like, it'll take a lot from you. It'll change you. It'll change your life. It'll change how you interact.
Yeah, it gives you a different perspective on
for sure
life, for sure.
Yeah. And there's a lot of other very lucrative and amazing career field you can go into. But I think like if you're in this career field, know that it will change you and just be okay with that. If you're not okay with that, there's nothing wrong with bouncing, you know. And if you are okay, then let's do it, you know. But we've seen people act. We've also seen inaction. You know, I've had incidences where I've seen people just standing around, losing their mind, freaking out.
Yeah, you're wondering why they even
why are
put
you
on the
even here,
badge.
dude?
Yeah.
I used to get really angry about it, but now everybody's a little bit different, and that's okay. So all I know is I have my mindset. I have my perspective on what I think is important with this career, and I try to surround myself with people that I think want to do that kind of stuff and do the best that we can, you know.
Yeah.
And not everybody has the same mindset that I do, and not everybody's content with the way I do things, but you know, we got to do what's right for us and the public. So it's at the end of the day, like, and I truly believe, dude, like we have to be, again, like good at a lot of things, but there's a few things that we absolutely just can't screw up. And again, having experienced those things, I'm like, it matters, dude. When somebody calls you and they're like got somebody breaking into their house and they're trying to light their house on fire and all this other crazy stuff, like you better be ready to go, dude.
Yeah.
Because they need you. Who else is gonna help them?
Yeah, because I know you were on that incident too.
Yeah, there's a couple
Shots
weird
fired,
ones.
houses burning down, all that crazy stuff. So
There's no scenario that would ever teach you that. It's just, again, that specific incident, that was a mindset piece. You know, we had a double homicide in Meridian a couple years ago where SWAT team was activated and we were chasing this dude yard to yard, and he ended up, you know, shooting himself, and we put the pressure on him and got out of the Bearcat. But like, dude, every yard you go over, every fence you hop, every time you get out of the armor, dude, you're one, that guy can get one lucky shot on you, it's done.
Yeah.
But other people need you. Think about it. I mean, like, I just thought about after that one in particular, every single person that was sound asleep that night that needed us, you know, that's why we do it. And I do it for the guys to my left and right, but the public matters too, you know, and we may not always love the way cops do things, and not everybody loves
well,
it.
one of the things I always say, it's, you know, you hear people say, "Oh, I did it for officer safety, officer safety." I'm like, dude, it's not about officer safety. It's about public safety.
We're lower on the list, man.
Yeah, it's about public safety, not officer safety.
Yep.
So
We will put ourselves out there. We'll put ourselves in a detrimental position to help somebody. And dude,
you
how
go
much
out
have we done?
and learn how to shoot at a high level, combatives at a high level,
Yep.
physical fitness at a high level, because of public safety.
Yeah, and like, you know, you can always reverse the roles too. I mean, you've heard this when somebody's like, well, who would you want to come help your family? Like if my wife, like if I'm down in Darcy and I'm training and, you know, my wife calls the cops, who's going to show up to help her? You know, I want the guy that's got the right mindset, or the gal that's got the right mindset.
She can call me. I'm not working no more, but she can call.
That might be the best call, honestly, at this point. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that's important, dude, you know, and it's an honorable profession still, I think, and it's a hard profession, but I still enjoy it, and I like what I'm doing now. So
Yeah.
until it changes in the future.
Yeah. Well, you've done a lot of good things. I know you got, you know, a lot of people look up to you in the agency, and you got a good reputation, so that's good. And your dad still hasn't talked to me since I went to Pakistan. So
Yeah, you kind of just severed that relationship, dude. He was not happy with you.
yeah,
That's some old school stuff there. So.
yeah, Indian lieutenant, and tell him I'm going to Pakistan to work. And
Yeah, it
he's
wasn't his favorite thing in the world to hear. Something that he respected. He was like, "Huh? So you're gonna go train these guys, huh? Nice, dude.
He's like, you're training the enemy.
For money." That's exactly what he said. He tells me that story to this day. He's like, "They're not our friends, dude." Yeah, especially a guy that grew up in India during that time when the wars and stuff were all still happening. It was so pretty.
Because your dad grew up there, huh? He was born and raised in
man.
India.
Yeah, my whole family immigrated from here. My grandpa came here. My paternal grandfather came here when.
Where were you born? Here?
Yeah, dude. Born and raised.
Yeah. So you are American.
First generation. Yeah, me and my two brothers.
All
First
right.
generation
I
American.
guess those ICE guys they don't have to stay out front anymore.
They can stay out front all they want, but based on recent incidents, I think they have other things to worry about. So I'm the least of their concern. But yeah, dude. So how's retirement? Here's the thing I think people need to know. You're one of the few cops that's retired that I know that, number one, I stay in touch with.
Yeah.
But also, dude, you did retirement right. Like, how many cops are just like, either they come back and work for us. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But like, you're living the dream, dude. You got a good, successful business. You got a good marriage. You got a nice property up in Riggins that you still haven't invited me to.
Don't tell people that.
That you're gonna. Everybody knows about it, dude. It's the 1032 firearms facility, dude. I tell everybody, I give them your address and everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, dude, like, it's cool, man, to see guys honestly survive the career.
Yeah. Well, I still keep in touch because I being part of it, you know, giving back by contract teaching at the county, contract teaching
Yeah.
at the state, at the academy, We got that firearms conference coming up again. We know we did it last year, second one coming up this year, where we're bringing in some high-level instructors. We got Benny Cooley coming back to teach some carbine. We got Keith Garcia coming from the West Coast. He's a SWAT guy and a 3-gunner, national champion. We got Bill Rep here. He's a dev group guy. We got Corey Feldman, one of our own. He's teaching some preaching, and Yang Lee, who's a SWAT guy out of the Washington area and a 5-time Grandmaster in USPSA. We got some really good classes coming up, and hopefully we're going to see some of the guys come back and some new people come back and take some more classes. So,
well, and I think it's important for people to understand too, with regards to that law enforcement firearms conference that you run, is your price point for the quality of instructors that you have is, I mean, you guys aren't making any money off this thing. Like, guys are literally volunteering time for the betterment of public service in Idaho.
Yeah, 3-day class, and it's $350 a day per class.
I mean, that's nothing, dude. Mm-hmm. And you can literally pick and choose what you want to go to. You can go to the whole thing, or you can just go to one day.
Yeah.
I mean, you got, like, again, dude, like Bill Rapier and Benny Cooley's class last year kicked my butt, dude. Like, Benny, for his age, phenomenal class. That's the first Benny Cooley class I've taken, and I've always heard about him and his instructor capabilities and just his mindset, dude. Yeah. But, dude, like, that guy's, how old? I don't even know how old Benny is, but he's much older than I am. 30, 40 years my senior. He's all of his arms are fused together, and you know what I mean? Like, he's like a robot, dude. He's got probably all these metal in his body, but he's getting after it, man. It was so hot. That was one of the first days in a long time, or one of the few days in a long time that I have gone home, and I was like, do I just suck at life now? Like, I was so tired. I was so mentally and physically fatigued.
He's a great instructor, isn't he?
Dude, and he makes you earn it. But everything he says is like gold. Yeah, I learned some very valuable. So he's a great instructor. And obviously Yong's at a different level.
Did you go to Yong's class as well?
Oh, I went to all of it, dude. Yeah, the only one I didn't go to was Corey's bridging class.
Yeah. We were only 2 days last year. This year's going to be 3 days.
Which is sick, dude. So my goal this year is, because I will be there, I definitely want to hit Bill's combatives class. Mm-hmm. Probably hit other Garcia's class.
Yeah.
Because those are the two that I didn't get to go to last year.
Yeah, Keith Garcia.
Hit
great
Keith's class. And then
his class is going to be, he calls it tactical 2-gun, where you'll be shooting handgun and rifle all day long. It's not just like half-day pistol, half-day rifle. It's like you're going back and forth between both of them all day.
Dude, and here's the other thing. Like, for Idaho law enforcement, like, if guys end up listening to this podcast and they even want to take any of my advice, if you're going to pick one class for the entire year and budget is an issue, I would 100% recommend you go to your law enforcement firearms conference, because the price point's right. It's relatively close. You will shoot a lot of rounds depending on whose course you take.
Yeah, most of these courses are about 800 to 1,000 rounds per day.
But very valuable, though. Mm-hmm. Like, there was not a round that I fired that I was like, that was a waste of time. And this is the second time I've taken this curricula from Yang. This last time I went, because he taught the same thing when you brought him in. But, dude, there's just little nuggets that you pick on that guy lays on you, and you're just like, dude, it's a different level of instruction. I would also say that if you are an organization in Idaho, or anywhere really in the Pacific Northwest, and you don't really know how to, like, shoot performance pistol with a red dot, take Yong's class. And if you want to run how to...
great class.
Dude, like, you want to learn how to run a red dot and shoot occluded and, like, know, like, the limitations and capabilities with that, that's a class to take. And then if you want to learn how to fight with a rifle, Benny's your guy. He made us earn every round that we fired. Plus, Benny was a lot of fun to shoot with because his round counts were insane. Mm-hmm. My suppressor was melting, dude. My rifle was falling apart. I had to go put my laser back on. I heated up some of my, like, blue goo on my my pistol light. Like, we ran that gun hard, and we were behind. The crazy thing with him is he demos and does every drill with you.
Yeah.
So as soon as you start getting tired, and you realize, like, this, like, 60-year-old man is doing, like, outperforming me, dude. I'm like,
he's got some energy, doesn't he?
Dude, how is he still like that? It's insane, and he's still good at shooting, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the caliber instructor you have coming out, and it's just really cool that you're doing that, dude. Like, there's no better way to give back than that. Yeah. Like, I just really hope people understand the level of instruction that you've had, and it's gotten better this year. Yeah. And plus, dude, you had all the vendors out there, and you had the food truck. Like, it's a legit, like, conference, and it's legit training, and it's not like...
This year we got Vortex stepped up, and they're going to sponsor... They're giving us some red dot, pistol red dots to give away. Cryptic is stepping up. They're going to pay for food and dinner for guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, and then you did the debrief too, which I didn't make it to.
Oh yeah, we do an incident debrief on day 2 this year. We'll probably meet. Last year we did it at Cafe Cafe Mexico.
Yeah.
And we held it there in their little conference room. So we may or may not do it there again this year, depending on what we got how many people we get, but we're hoping to do that in the evening on day 2 after the classes where people come. Dinner's paid for by by one of the sponsors and so forth. So
yeah, man, I think it's awesome you're doing that. And like the goal, I think, right, is for that thing to grow every single year. So, dude, and if you're local, if you're in the Treasure Valley, like you should be showing up to that, even if it's one of those days. Just pick one instructor that you either haven't been to or you've wanted to go to for a while. They're all going to be great. Like I can attest to Young and Benny. I know Keith Garcia is phenomenal, and obviously I've seen Bill Rapier's stuff online, so I know they're going to be good. But I've never taken their courses. But I can at least attest to if you want to learn how to shoot a red dot and you want to learn how to run a rifle, you got 2 great instructors right there. And then the Corey stuff is good too.
Yeah, Corey's class, which is the breaching class, I really hope guys will take that. We're going to actually, Corey and I are going to combine a performance pistol class and the breaching class. We're going to take that on the road because what we're trying to do is we're trying to really target the patrol guys. And a lot of times guys see a breaching class and they're like, oh, that's for SWAT. But we want the regular patrol guys to understand how to breach and shoot, because if you look at a lot of the active shooter classes, I know around here in Idaho we use Alert.
Yep.
They teach you hallway movement. They teach you, how to enter a room, but there's no, they talk about breaching, but they don't really teach you guys how to breach. So Corey's class is going to really teach guys how to breach from a patrol standpoint on an active shooter. And then, but then it doesn't do you any good if you get into the room and you can't shoot and you shoot the wrong person, right? So that's why we're going to combine those 2 things that we feel are the 2 things that, like Alert is not, doesn't provide. They're lacking a little bit, so we want to provide the breaching and the shooting part of it.
Well, it's like we say in the breaching community in the small world: if you can't get in, you can't do the job.
Yeah.
Right. We see that happen at Uvalde and incidences even that I've experienced here locally. Like the breaching component is access, and the ability to create access is imperative. You can do all the dry fire in the world, you can do all the PTL and mindset stuff that we're talking about, but if you can't get in through that front door, you can't get in through that, class 2 metal door or that pneumatic return. What tool do you use? RAM, Halley, explosives. Like if you don't know how to use your tools and get in, you're no good. You can't do anything, And Corey has got that curriculum dialed in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his passion. Corey's good at a lot of things.
Yeah, he does. He is good at a lot of things.
He's very passionate about a lot of things, but he's really taken this breaching thing like to a new level, and it's really cool to see because like same thing you're doing, and that's awesome. You guys are partnering on that because mechanical manual breaching is it's such an underrated tool, and the thing is like we all carry this stuff.
You're a breacher too, aren't you?
Yeah,
the explosive breacher, right? You do explosive breaching.
Yeah, best tool we have in civilian law enforcement. It's dude, I love being a breacher. That is the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. It's probably like, if I'm being real with people, it's the thing I'm most passionate about. Is not only being somebody that can create access through any, mechanism, but specifically explosives, but also like we started running our own explosive breaching class here in Boise. DJ and I started that class. And we are teaching it like with Darcy, which is like a huge privilege to be able to do that. Like we're very, very
Do you guys have a class coming up?
Yeah, well, so we're going to teach one annually every single year in September. So generally first or second week of September, we will run an explosive breaching class. We open it up. It'll be advertised through Darcy as well and us. The certification, we host it. The price point is super low. You'll probably send about 150 charges in the week, and I think our tuition is $400. So we make zero money on that class. Literally, the tuition covers our materials because it costs us about $4,000 to $6,000 to just get the basic materials to run the course between explosives and blasting caps and doors and stuff.
So what should you know before going to a class like that? You got to know like anything special?
Nope.
Should you be? You'll teach guys from the ground up.
Exactly. Yeah, this is your level 1.
You have to be able to think. Like you got to know math or something like that.
We will teach you the math.
Oh yeah.
If you think that you struggle with math, probably won't. Breacher math is difficult, but we're not teaching the advanced level breaching math. It's pretty fundamental. The other thing about this class too, and this is not to sound like arrogant or anything, but like if you attend our class, you may not get a cert at the end of it. You might get a participation cert, but you have to. This is a performance-based class, so we do everything from like night vision runs with gas mask, NVGs. We do hostage rescue stuff during the class. It is a level 1 cert, but it mimics the curriculum that Darcy teaches because we have to hold that standard because we put the Darcy logo. Rich, the owner of Darcy, has allowed us to do that.
Yeah.
Because that's really Ada County SWAT team we base everything off that. So you don't have to have any experience. You obviously need to be like law enforcement. It's probably ideal that you're in a SWAT setting, but you don't have to be. We've had military guys come out to the class too that didn't have explosive breaching background. So as long as you we can vet you and that you're from an organization because it's not open to civilians, you're good to go. And we will get you spun up. Now, again, there are performance metrics that you have to meet. If you don't meet those metrics throughout the week, there's a test, like there's a skills test, there's a written test. So if you can't do those things and pass them and you don't show
could like an old guy like me pass it?
You probably not, but other old men could pass it, yes. Yeah, you can 100% pass a class. But yeah, dude, it's if we could make it free, we'd make it free, but we at least have to cover the cost of our explosives and our doors because that procurement process is pretty spendy. But last year was our second course. This will be our third one that we've ran, and yeah, September. Dates will be hopefully on the Dorsey website soon. We got some other kind of cool stuff.
You guys got to do it during hunting season?
I mean, for the archery guys, for us rifle guys, it doesn't matter. If you want to go chase something with a bow, go ahead. You know?
I don't use a bow, so I'm good.
Yeah, I like to take my elk 600 yards away. So
that's right.
It's a little bit easier than trying to get.
And who showed you how to zero your rifle?
Oh, this old guy, this old retired cop's got a real bad attitude, doesn't like to help anybody. Yeah, he showed me, got me shooting out to 900 yards, dude.
And you killed stuff with that, right?
I've killed several animals since then. Yeah, and I haven't re-doped it or re-zeroed it since, dude. I got my little 4DOF app on there, pull it up on my phone, put my dopes in, dude, and just, I've killed probably 3 or 4 elk now.
You're going to brag about it now.
I don't want to brag about all the meat I have in my freezer, but yeah. I don't eat any of it. I just give it away to my friends. But
should have brought me some backstrap.
I will bring you some backstrap.
Last year I actually didn't get an elk for the first time in years.
Did you just not go hunting or you didn't get
one? No, I went up 2 weeks, dude. I hunted for like 2 weeks and didn't even see one.
At your place or did you go?
No, this other place I go to, but usually the place I get my elk every year. But I bragged too many times to my buddies. It's like, oh yeah, day 1, 2, or 3, I usually have my elk.
That's crazy, dude, because you've gotten one like every year for as long as I've known you.
Yeah, for a long time.
I didn't even go hunting this year, dude. Baby was sick, wife was sick, everybody was sick this year, but last year was good. Got a couple elk, a couple deer. But no, yeah, dude, you hooked it up. I don't know how to shoot long range like that, so I was like, hey, Raul, can you help me put on my scope and can you help me zero this and can you do this, can you do that? And you're like, yeah, dude, took me out to the range.
Yeah, good times.
It was fun, dude. So,
well, cool, man. We've been talking for about an hour and a half. Wow,
nice.
It went fast.
Yeah, man.
So that's what happens when you got somebody good to interview that has good stories.
When you got the homies together, dude.
That's right.
I mean, we talked for what, like 30, 45 minutes even before this thing.
Yeah.
So we talk to you all the time, man.
Yeah. But you look like you could be my son almost.
Danny's way better looking than I am, dude. Way better looking. He's like doing all these Iron Man things now. He's all in shape and stuff.
Dude,
crazy stuff.
He's a stud, man. He's a beast now, man. That kid can run 26 miles, 30 miles. He'll go run 20 miles and jump on his bike and run another 30 miles and do handstands and whatever.
And he's making some killer videos down there at the Film Lab in Utah, dude.
Yeah, he's doing good with Film Lab,
dude. Yeah, I'm glad that he's one of the few guys I've also seen leave the profession for like to chase his dreams. I talk to him about it every time I see it, but I'm like, dude, I'm so like proud of him because I remember it was like everything for him to like kind of follow in your footsteps. And last time at the conference, him and I were just kicking it the whole time, and he was like, dude, I really like felt bad leaving because of your legacy. Yeah. But I was like, dude, you're following your dreams, man. Like, that's awesome that he left and he's built that life that he has. So
yeah, I'm proud of him, man. I got and my daughter, she's a good kid. I got some good kids. My daughter, she's got a good husband. They both got into hunting and stuff, and they both shot bears this year.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
dude, that's awesome.
Pretty cool. And Danny got remarried a couple months ago.
Yep.
So
it sounds like that's
doing
going
awesome.
Great.
Yeah, and his wife's a good gal. She's really nice.
Heck yeah, dude.
All right, man. Well, let's. I think we're going to call it a day here. I think this will give us enough information, and hopefully we'll have you maybe come back and talk about some other incidents you've been involved in.
Yeah, man, I'd love to. Be back.
All right, man. It's good to see you.
All right, it's later.
All right.